While Tracy was only in one episode, it feels like she was in many more.
But I feel many more.
Hey!
Her presence and her impact is felt, at the very least, up through the end of the next season, Season 4, Episode 9, whoever did this, when Tony kills Ralph, and when he says, "She was a beautiful, innocent creature, what'd she ever do to you?" He could be talking about Pai Oh Mai. He could be talking about Tracy. I think he's talking about both. Carter Chong is another character who seems like he's in more than one episode because of his impact in the one episode that we do see him, which is Season 6, Episode 15, Remember When. Remember When's the lowest form of conversation, but Carter Chong is not the lowest form of one episode character.
Once in third grade, I got a 96 on my spelling test, highest mark in the class. I brought it home to show my dad. "What happened to the other 4 points?" he says.
He takes a liking to Junior, and they become buddies. You know that Carter has a complicated family history. Clearly there were some issues with his father. We don't know to the extent that Carter was involved in that. There's a lot of speculation that Carter actually killed his father, and that we can see these violent triggers when Carter attacks Junior. John Schwinn, rocket scientist from Bell Labs. Tony meets him in Season 6, Episode 4, the fleshy part of the thigh, after he emerges from his coma and is still in the hospital. How do they meet? Well, they're watching a boxing match. The boxers, you, me, we're all part of the same quantum field. I mean, that's just typical small talk, right? You're trying to break the ice, open up a conversation. Just talk about being in the same quantum field.
It's physics. Schrodinger's equation.
Okay, I'm just getting there, but when he does his monologue, it opens up my mind so much and gets me thinking so much about the big picture with everything, and I really, really appreciate John Schwinn's presence because of that.
The universe is just a big soup of molecules bumping up against one another.
Bobby Bacala Sr., a.k.a. the Terminator. You know how Bobby Bacala Jr. never popped his cherry until the very end? Well, the Terminator was the opposite, which you can probably tell by his name. And we get to see him in one episode, Season 3, Episode 5, Another Toothpick, when he comes along and takes out Mustang Sally.
I think you should go see him.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should send him something, some flowers.
And something that made the Terminator's killing of Mustang Sally even more satisfying was the fact that Mustang Sally was so needlessly violent when putting Vito's brother into a coma.
Welcome to the Boonton Holiday Inn.
Michael K. Williams is a tremendous actor in many shows. He's only in one episode here on The Sopranos, the Season 3 finale, but along with Lena, I think they do an excellent job really showing Jackie Jr. just what he is and what he's not. As you may know, in addition to playing Ray Ray, Michael K. Williams plays Chalky White in Boardwalk Empire and Omar Little in The Wire.
I see you should have played that out. That's the only way you're going to learn.
Annalisa Zuka, Season 2, Episode 4, Commendatori. You may know her as the woman boss. When Annalisa is telling him these stories and this history, it really gives you a sense of the big picture, which again is something that I appreciate, particularly when it comes to The Sopranos, when you really have a lot to think about.
I thought Delphi was in Greece.
Well, the Greeks were here, way before the Romans. And before the Greeks, there was somebody else. And before them, somebody else.
Also, kind of side note, we're used to seeing phallic symbols on The Sopranos. I mean, sausage, guns, you name it. But I recently noticed something different when Annalisa's walking Tony around the caves.
Who are you?
Jesus Christ, you scared the shit out of me.
Jesus ain't got nothing to do with it.
Reverend Herman James Sr. in Season 2, Episode 2, Do Not Resuscitate. He had nothing to be afraid of when it came to Tony Soprano. And, as he tells Tony, never underestimate a man's determination to be free. He was also hilarious when he says, Jesus ain't got nothing to do with it.
He even took this fat boy.
I think he was almost taking a dig at Tony, and I think Tony somehow feels that without completely understanding it.
You ever watch the History Channel?
You just reveal your own ignorance.
You ever watch the History Channel? As he's telling Tony about his lived experiences in that history. I like that she's also not scared of Tony, in the sense of not being afraid to tell him what's on her mind, and tell him some things that perhaps others might be too scared to, or perhaps things that others might not even notice or pick up on, because they're so used to seeing Tony.
Actually, you're a surprise. Chris sometimes talked about some sad shit, but you seem, I don't know, actually sad.
I get it!
Tony has an epiphany with Sonya after just one night. Too bad it didn't happen nearly as quickly with Dr. Melfi. Manager Dale, an identified black male, is also not scared of Patsy or Bert.
Kind of busy. You guys looking for a donation?
And he's also quite matter-of-factly in stating that corporate, they wouldn't feel anything. Patsy, Bert, Tony, all these guys, they think they're the big fish. They're the big men on campus. Maybe not anymore.
How do you think corporate would feel if, for the sake of argument, someone threw a brick through your window?
Manager Dale always makes me laugh, but it's also a good illustration of the hypocrisy of the mafia. These guys are complaining about it's over for the little guy. Meanwhile, they have no problem taking from the little guy.
We've got like 10,000 stores in North America. I don't think they feel anything.
Came home one day, shot her. I killed her aunt, too.
He's so matter-of-fact with Johnny Sack when disclosing why he's an inmate at that prison. And he's also someone who seems like he's in more than one episode, even though he is in fact only in stage 5.
And the mailman. At that point, I had to fully commit.
Finally, just to wrap up, I find myself going back and forth between top 10 and 10 favorite, because truthfully, as with many things, I find watching The Sopranos to be a very subjective experience. In fact, this list has changed a bit over the years for me. So while these are my top 10 favorite, however you want to phrase it, one episode characters, this just so happens to be my current Sopranos blueprint. And on that note, I'd love to hear from you about some of your favorite one episode characters. As always, thanks for watching.